let's look at the problem, the underlying issues, right?
Yeah.
The failure of the political system to bring about the right type of reforms, the challenges in terms of crime, the significant poverty and inequality that we have, the challenge in terms of how we think about how we call out problems and being very clear. And the example you gave was around drugs. My bigger issue is so what? I mean, how do you, or not only you, but the collective that has come around and galvanized around Rise Mzansi, what are some of the ways in which you think about reform? Because one of the things I often grapple with is when CR came in, everyone was tumaminaing, right? And we all thought he's the savior. I mean, chairperson of MTN, he'll deal with these things.
Yeah.
He knows what the corporate environment looks like. It hasn't turned out that way. So tell me more about how.
And maybe that's the mistake we made. The corporate environment and politics are not the same.
Sure.
Right? And so let me speak more specifically about the reforms and maybe just mention 3 areas which are really important. The first one is electoral reform. You need the electoral reform not just for people to be better represented in terms of their specific choice of candidate per voting district, because we don't have that. So people vote for political parties who choose the people that go to parliament, who don't feel accountable to the people that voted for the political party and give them the middle finger for 5 years.
Right.
That gives us a lot of problems. In that also those people don't do their work, their oversight work in parliament as they should. So you need to change not just the electoral system, but the way parliament functions and the way parliament exercises its powers and the way you allocate powers between the executive, the legislature, and so on. Let me give you one example, because I know quite a bit about this. How many of you know that in terms of the Reserve Bank Act, the governor of the Reserve Bank can set interest rates by himself or herself without consulting anyone? Did you know that? Okay, it is true. Go and check it. I wrote a book on the 100-year history of the Reserve Bank. It's global best practice to have a monetary policy committee. Initially, the MPC did not tell us what the vote split was and so on. They do it now. It's also advancement in global best practice. I'm mentioning this example not because I've got any issues with Lisecha. Sure. I'm mentioning this because the South African president gets to appoint the Reserve Bank governor, the police commissioner, the SARS commissioner, the DGs, all of them, right? The chief justice, and the president has enormous powers in South Africa, and we don't even know it. So what happens when you have a combination of a bad president and a bad Reserve Bank governor? You understand?
Yes.
And the parliament that doesn't even know what I'm telling you right now. Oh, it's true. They don't. No, they don't. Right? Do you realize the institutional peril that we are in? The question is, can you let that situation just manifest? Of course, you can't. You've got to try and change it. So what I'm trying to say to you is that when we talk about the reform agenda, it actually is really, the scale of it is beyond what a lot of us imagine. But of course, you've got to bite the elephant in chunks. The state isn't working.
Sure.
In the manner that it is conceived. A lot of it depends on good faith and good intention. But honestly, if Lisecha lost his mind tomorrow, our futures could look different.
Of course.
Right. So we gotta understand that we've got a problem on that side. The last one I want to make is I'm going to make a very simple example, and we are in a business school, and you guys understand this. If you read every monetary policy committee statement and stats SAs, inflation numbers and so on, there are 2 SOCs which are holding the SA economy back, apart from other things. It's Transnet and Eskom.
Sure. Okay.
Both of them have neither a chief executive or an FD that's permanent. Some of you work for companies. If this was a listed company, how long would shareholders and analysts and all of these people tolerate such a situation? They wouldn't, but we do, right? And then people ask me, what's your policy idea? How are you going to change it? Okay, you tell me. What smart policy can you do to get people to appoint people? You understand? I'm trying I really need us to have this discussion tonight. Leadership and the quality of decision making in leadership and the effectiveness and design of the government, of the governance system. are the bedrock of how you succeed as a country or any institution. I know we're obsessed with policy. If we can't get this thing right, friends, get your visas and go somewhere else. The difference is, if we're going to stay, are we going to accept this mess that we're in or not? And I don't think we should.